Well, hey guys, I'm Abby Johnson, and I'm excited to continue our reading together today, specifically honing in on Joshua 23. Now, Joshua is very old, and his time on earth is drawing to a close here, and he recognizes that, and so he gathers the people to himself to give them final instructions on how to continue to pursue the promises of God. And as we get into that, I want to note the language that Joshua uses here in verse 6. He says, "Be very strong. Be careful to obey all that is written in the book of the law of Moses, without turning aside to the right or to the left." Now, the wording that Joshua is using here to instruct the people is so closely tied to what God told him the day that he was installed as the new leader over the Israelites after Moses had died. Hear it again. It's Joshua 1:7. It says, "Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go." And now, for decades, Joshua has clung to the instruction that God gave him on that monumental day, and he's passing it on to the Israelites. And now, stepping into that kind of leadership role and trying to fill Moses' shoes was certainly no small undertaking. But here we are, nearing the end of Joshua's life, and we can see that the word that God gave him never left his heart, to the point that he can recall it and recite it to the people of Israel. And it's so reminiscent to me of Psalm 119, verse 11. It says, "I've hidden your word in my heart that I might not sin against you." Obviously, it's clear as we read through the book of Joshua that he took his leadership assignment from God very seriously. But what I'm more impressed with is all the preparation Joshua put in long before he was the leader or the head honcho, the guy in charge. When you actually flip back to some of our earlier readings, you see that Joshua was filled with hunger for the things of God. I love the picture that we see of Joshua in Exodus 33:11. It says, "The Lord would speak to Moses face to face, as one speaks to a friend. Then Moses would return to the camp, but his young aide Joshua, son of Nun, did not leave the tent." Obviously, Moses had a deep walk with God. This we know, but Joshua would stay even after the leader would leave, indicating that his pursuit of God wasn't just for personal gain or right standing with Moses. He was hungry. Maybe he didn't get to talk to God face to face like Moses did, but that certainly wasn't going to stop him from going after God. And I feel extremely confident in saying that the day that Joshua and only one other man out of an entire nation of people believed that God was more than able to take out the giants in the promised land, that kind of faith was stoked and spurred on in those moments of pursuing God in the quiet times, in those moments in the tent alone, in the moments when his leader wasn't around to see, where it was just between Joshua and God. All of this prepared Joshua to the point that when it was time to take on a new endeavor with the Lord, he was doing so from a place of unseen and anonymous, simply wanting God for the sake of knowing him. And as I pondered today's moment looking at the life of Joshua, some things hit home for me. Am I waiting on being the right leader when the time calls for it? And now I know that I'm a pastor, and I'm not just talking about being a pastor here, that kind of leader. I think so often we don't prepare in the waiting seasons, in the unseen and anonymous seasons, for the thing that the Lord has coming our way. Whether that's preparing to step into a new role at work, or preparing to become a mom for the first time, or to begin a new leadership role within your church ministry, or whatever the case may be. I think our typical thought is to only do what leaders do when the leadership role has been assigned. But for Joshua, he never had the promise that he was going to take over from Moses when he was in the tent of meeting alone. He was ready in season and out, as 2 Timothy 2:4 instructs each of us to be. And the second thing is the level to which he personalized and clung to what God spoke to him. To be able to recite those same exact words that God said years later, Obviously, he didn't view this as momentary instructions only pertaining to that day. He carried those words with him. He carried that instruction with him, believing the words and promises of God, that obedience to him brings blessing. And so my reflection is, am I doing the same? What has God spoken over my life that I need to embed deep within my heart, just like Joshua did? How can his instruction to me be carried with me and passed on to future generations, just like Joshua handed off the baton? You see, it's a pretty rare thing in the Old Testament to see a leader finish well. And so when that does happen, it's a good time for us to see what they did right and to apply it to our own lives. And I hope that this encouraged you today as it did for me. I look forward to seeing you next time.